Welcome to the Three Mouseketeers, the sibling podcast that understands your Disney addiction. I'm Jared.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Emily.
We're going to be talking about animals at Disney, where you can find them, attractions that animals can be seen. But first, let's talk about the trivia. Are you guys ready to play?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. What other location was considered instead of Disneyland Paris? So there are four options: Spain, Italy, Switzerland, or Belgium.
I think I have a guess.
Okay, I would hope you would have a guess.
I think I'm going with Switzerland.
Okay, any particular reason why?
As usual, no.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. It sounds familiar maybe. I really don't know, honestly.
Centrally located, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
See, I would not think Switzerland because it gets super cold there.
Okay.
So I would not guess Switzerland or Belgium for that reason. I would choose either Spain or Italy. But we'll say Spain.
Amanda's going to say Spain just because she narrowed it down to a 50-50. Emily says Switzerland. So, fun fact, Switzerland is farther south than Paris.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Not something you think of.
So does that change your mind at all? Does it make you reconsider?
No.
All right. So, Emily, your final answer is Switzerland. Amanda, yours is Spain.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, as usual, one of you is correct, and it is Amanda. Amanda, you got Spain, and that was considered over Disneyland Paris. But they ended up going with Disneyland Paris, which I think was honestly a really good choice.
I think it's easier to get to Paris than it is to get to Spain from a lot of other places in Europe.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So I think that was a good choice. Does it say why? Do you know why they chose Paris over Spain?
I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe a warmer setting was considered. I know that Disneyland Paris is more centrally located than Spain whenever you're talking about other European countries.
Right.
The UK is right there.
Right.
You have Germany and Belgium and Switzerland. And I mean, they're all like surrounding France. So I think probably central location would be the main reason why they decided on Paris.
Yeah, I could see that.
So,
But I agree, Spain would have been probably a more moderate temperature year-round,
Oh, yeah.
I would think.
yeah, definitely. So, fun fact, if you got that at home on your own, congratulations. Let's go ahead and get into a history fact.
All right, since we're talking about Animal Kingdom today, I thought an Animal Kingdom history fact was appropriate. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Tree of Life, which, as we know, is like the central landmark of Animal Kingdom. Did y'all know that there are more than 300 carvings on the Tree of Life, and it took 10 artists and 3 Imagineers who worked full-time for 18 months to create all of the carvings. So a lot of hard work went into that. On top of that, the tree is 145 feet tall and 160 feet wide. And some people, it really does look like a real tree. So some people might think that it's real, but it's actually an oil rig, which they used to be able to withstand hurricanes since it's in Florida. And then it's topped with a bunch, over 100,000 fake leaves.
Very interesting. I had no idea that it was an oil rig. That's really interesting.
I know.
Yeah,
It's pretty smart.
I've heard that before. I did not know about how many carvings there were, so that's really fun. I do like
I
going to
knew
the Tree
that.
of Life and seeing all the animals that are carved into it, and I absolutely love the overlay that they do with the animals moving around, climbing the tree at night.
Yeah,
I do
I know.
too.
That's
I think
really
that's
cool.
awesome. Every time we go, I think I find a different animal that I didn't realize was carved into the tree.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, me too. I mean, there's over 300 to look at, so
Yeah. And every angle you look at it from, there's something different to see. So you can take a whole bunch of pictures of the tree and always get a different animal in there.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, Amanda, why don't you go ahead and give us a tip for the week?
My tip for this week is to make a packing list whenever you are getting ready to go on your Disney trip. I think this is very important to not forget those minor things that are very important, but something that you don't use every day, like ponchos. I mean, ponchos are something that's used almost year round at Disney. And they're kind of expensive if you get them from the parks, but you can get them from your dollar store or whatever for a few bucks. Same with sunscreen. Sunscreen is a big thing to bring. And a lot of people may forget it because you don't put it on every day, but you can get it at the parks, but it's expensive there. So if you bring your own, save yourself some money.
Yeah, everything is expensive at the parks, so I think we're all about making lists on this podcast. If you need to go to Disney, like we all do, you need to make a list. Whether it's, Amanda, you've talked about making lists about what snacks you want to try, or making lists about what attractions you want to go on, or just like you're saying, what you need to pack for your trip, just so you don't forget anything, for sure. Don't forget the kids. That's number one on the list. Bring the
Yeah,
kids.
for sure.
Yeah, I tend to always make a list for literally every aspect of my trip. And making a packing list is very good so that you don't forget things, even some essential things like socks and underwear. It's nice to go down the list and check each thing off as you pack it into your suitcase. So you just double check that you have it packed away and you're good to go.
I agree. And also, even if you think that it's going to be too hot, you may want to pack a pair of pants just in case. If you think it's going to be too cold, you may want to pack a pair of shorts just in case, because with Florida weather, you can never tell what's going to happen from one day to the next.
Yeah, you never know. Okay, well, very good. Why don't you go ahead and get into the segment?
This week's segment is This or That. And I would like to know if you are looking forward to seeing Black Widow or Jungle Cruise more.
I think this one's pretty easy for me.
It's pretty easy for me too,
I think we're going to be split
Really?
on this.
probably.
Emily, why don't you go ahead and give yours first?
Okay, well, first of all, I think that they both look really good, and I do really want to see both of them. We just went to see Cruella a couple weeks ago, and
Amazing.
they played. Yes, it was so good.
It really
but
was good.
they played the previews for both of these movies while we were there to see Cruella, and I want to see them both. They both look amazing. But if I had to choose only one to see, I would pick Jungle Cruise easily.
Not surprised by your answer at all.
No. When that commercial came on, I started like jumping up and down in my seat like a little kid. And like I was telling my husband, I was like, I can't wait. I can't wait. So yeah, Jungle Cruise.
Yeah. See, I figured you were going to say Jungle Cruise, and it does look amazing, but I'm going with Black Widow. I'm more of a Marvel superhero MCU type person, and not to say that Jungle Cruise does not look great, because it does. I think it's going to be a very fun movie to watch. But if I had to choose between the two of these, I'm going to choose Black Widow. I'm just more invested in those characters and in that universe that they've created.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are. I'm not so much. Like, I can miss a Marvel movie and it not really care too much. Like I said, I want to see it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I was just really curious to see which way you guys would lean on this. I think I am with Emily, though. I think I would choose Jungle Cruise. It looks really good. I like Emily Blunt and The Rock, so I think that would be my choice. Plus, it looks just really fun, and I'm in the mood for a really fun movie right now. I do want to see Black Widow, and I love Marvel and all of their shows, but I think I'm going to have to go with Jungle Cruise at this time.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, like I said, it looks like a very fun movie. Black Widow is going to be a little bit heavier than Jungle Cruise. So if you're looking for a fun movie, probably go Jungle Cruise. But I mean, like I said, I'm more invested in the characters with Black Widow. So I think I'm going to have to stick with my answer. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into the main topic. As I stated earlier, we're going to be talking about animals at Disney. This is something that I really wanted to talk about because even though they get talked about a lot, I don't think that a lot of people know what animals you can see in Disney and where you can find them. There are some hidden little attractions that you can go and find. So yeah, I thought this would be a very fun episode to talk about. And I want to start out with something that we've actually kind of talked about before, and that's the cats at Disneyland.
Oh, I didn't even think about that whenever we were bringing up this topic.
Yeah.
Because they're not what you consider wild animals normally. I mean, they are. They're
They
wild.
are wild
they're not
animals.
tamed, but you don't think of a cat as being a wild animal, like
Well,
a tiger,
domesticated
or a
cat.
bear.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So fun thing is that the cats are found at Disneyland and Disneyland Paris.
Interesting.
Oh.
I didn't know they were in Paris.
I've seen some of the cats at Disneyland myself, and they're pretty cute. They don't disappoint.
But
It's
can
pretty
you pet
funny
them,
that-
though? That's the question.
Probably not.
No.
I didn't try.
There might be
I
a
find
couple
it-
that are a little bit more friendly than others, but I don't recommend trying to pet the wild cats.
Yeah.
I find it very funny that Mickey Mouse's house has cats.
Yeah. And the funny thing is the cats are there to pretty much keep the rodent population down. So it is
Right.
very interesting indeed. One of the other things that I wanted to bring up, and it kind of goes along the same lines as the cats at the parks, is that you can find a lot of common birds. And squirrels.
Yeah.
You can find squirrels too, for sure.
And ducks.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess
Well,
that
they're
goes with
Common
birds.
birds, yeah. Ducks
Yeah.
and pigeons and just birds of that nature.
I like the Disney ducks. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
Like Donald,
Daisy, yeah. Huey, Dewey, Louie, Scrooge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are all
Yeah,
great
those-
characters.
those
But what about the
ducks, too.
birds?
I like the character ducks and the real ducks.
Okay.
I mean, there are a lot of people that you find taking pictures of the ducks and stuff for sure.
Or feeding the ducks.
Or feeding the ducks.
Yeah,
yes.
you are
Do
not
not do
supposed to
that.
do that.
You're not.
But
people
those
do.
ducks are very friendly. Like, I have watched them take food out of people's hands.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty crazy, and you're not supposed to do that. They can find their own food.
They
but-
can.
Well, they could before. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, that is true.
So last time I was at Epcot, I was sitting down on one of the benches, just eating my quick service meal, and one of the ducks just came begging for food.
You
And
did
it
not
was-
feed the duck, did you?
No, I did not. It was the most adorable thing that I probably have seen in a long time, and it was hard to not feed the ducks. So they make it very hard
It's
to not
tempting.
give them food. Yes, it's very tempting.
Well, they also have like the cranes and stuff, and some of those, I mean, can be a little intimidating. I mean, they're big
They're bigger
and
than
long
ducks, yeah.
beaks, and I don't know. It can be a little nerve wracking if you're just sitting there and one comes and sits right beside you.
Yeah. But I mean, the ducks are a little bit more aggressive about looking for food,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but they are adorable. So there's that. Okay, so there is a show on Disney Plus. It was created by National Geographic. It's called Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom, and it was created, or I guess it was released in 2020, and it currently has 8 episodes. I don't know if it's going to have another season with 8 more episodes or anything like that, but it is on Disney Plus, and it's a very good show. I've watched the full 8 episodes, and I really enjoyed it. I thought
Me
it was a
too.
lot of really good insight as to like how they run the parks, how they take care of the animals. So if you're interested in like the behind the scenes of Animal Kingdom and the aquariums at Epcot, then that's definitely something to watch.
I
You know,
agree.
it really made me think, like, do you have to have like a zoology degree to work there or be a veterinarian or something like that? Because it really made me want to work there with the animals.
Yeah. I think primarily, probably so. There's probably some jobs that you could probably apply for that aren't requiring those same degrees, but I think for the most part, you probably would need
Yeah,
something related to those fields.
I would think so too. So it makes me wish I was younger and could choose my college degree again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it would be
I
fun.
think that would be fun.
It would be fun. Okay, so just a quick question. How many acres do you guys think that the safari grounds are? Just a wild guess.
35.
Amanda says 35. Emily, what about you?
Well, I know that the entire park is 580 acres,
Okay.
the entire animal kingdom. And I also know that all of Magic Kingdom could fit into just the Kilimanjaro Safari Land.
Right.
But I
Okay,
don't
it's
know
definitely
how
more than
many.
35.
It's
Yeah.
definitely more than 35, yes.
I don't know how many acres Magic Kingdom is, or else that would really help me with that.
I would probably say, so how many is it total? 500 and
580.
580? Okay, so I'm going to change my guess to 200.
To 200. Okay.
That's a pretty good guess. I'll go with Amanda at 200.
Okay. Emily, you are right on the same track with, the Magic Kingdom fitting. Almost the entire Magic Kingdom fits inside the safari space. So the safari grounds are actually 110 acres and makes up the largest attraction in Disney theme parks.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I know that's one thing. Like, some people, Animal Kingdom is not a zoo, but some people think of it kind of like a zoo and think the animals are going to be in these small cages and things like that. But that's not the truth of Animal Kingdom at all. They actually have like extensive grounds to roam on, and they even have, if they're tired of roaming and tired of being in front of people, they have backstage areas that they can themselves take themselves off of the main scene and go back into their backstage area where they can just hang out, calm down, get away from the people. And they really do care about their animals and have it's like a sanctuary for them.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that I saw was that Walt was really worried that real animals would just hide from view. So one of the ways that they actually entice the animals to stay out in the public eye is with like well-placed feeding areas that people can't see that are like hidden in some way. I know that the lions have a temperature regulated rock that is specific for them so that they'll go out and lay on that whenever it's a little bit colder outside. So, I mean, it's things like that they've designed into the habitats that kind of coax the animals out to stay out as much as possible, but the animals do have that freedom to go in and out as they please.
Yeah.
So that's why the lions are always in the same spot.
Probably
They're
so,
sitting
yes.
on their rock.
Yes.
Yeah, and then one of the things that I had always wondered about before, I think that they actually addressed this in the show on Disney Plus, but I was always wondering how, I know the lions are well fed, but like, how do they keep the lions from eating the antelope and the zebras and, you know, the other animals? And they actually have, like, instead of just putting up fences where that's like an eyesore to people, but it's also not natural to the animals either, they do like well-placed rocks and things like that. And even like some ditches that we can't see, but the animals can't cross them. And it keeps all of the animals safe, all of the people safe, and it looks really nice and it feels natural for the animals.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought this up because, I mean, they basically call them visible barriers. And, I mean, like you said, it's like water features and moats and camouflaged fences to some degree. And it had never been done on this size of scale before Disney did it.
Well, that's not surprising. I mean, Disney wants to do everything better.
Yeah, bigger, better, and be innovative for sure.
Right.
So I do really like that it seems to be a little bit more open. Because, I mean, if you go to a zoo, then you obviously see they're in cages. And I think that's one thing that people have a problem with is knowing that animals are in captivity, I guess. But even though Disney does have essentially what some people would consider a zoo, it does seem a lot more open. It does seem like they have a lot more space and just the ability to go in and out, I think.
Yeah, and on top of that, Disney is like doing huge things in like the way of conservation, and their animals are not just there for like people to look at.
To
They
be on
also
display,
serve,
for sure.
yes, a lot of them serve a purpose towards like that's moving towards repopulating endangered species. And like I know the black rhino is like one of the things that Disney is working really hard to try to breed so that eventually they can get them back into the wild and not be critically endangered. And they do that with a lot of animals, and their breeding programs, they're not just breeding animals just to have baby animals for people to look at. Like it all serves a purpose in repopulation and conservation efforts, which I think is really great and something that a lot of zoos don't do. And it's what sets them apart from just a regular zoo.
Right. And I think it all goes back to Joe Rohde as, you know, his envisioned idea of what Animal Kingdom should be.
Yeah.
Right. And you even saw like whenever I watched the show on Disney Plus, the Animal Kingdom show on Disney Plus, they had a baby hippo and they were trying to get him socialized because he was going to another zoo so that he could have his own baby hippos. So I think that was showcased in that show as well, how they're trying to help the animal community.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I read, I don't have the exact number, but I want to say they said that they had donated over $100 million in maybe just since Animal Kingdom had been open, I don't know, towards different conservation groups. So they're doing a really good job with their conservation efforts.
Yeah. So one of the things that this brings up is that scientists at Disney's Animal Kingdom have found within their studies of elephants. So they have a herd of males and a herd of females, and they've discovered 2 new vocalizations that they've never heard in elephants before in like flirting and courting scenarios. So they're doing a whole lot of studies for these animals. And I mean, it just goes back to they're not just there for people to go and look at.
Yeah, they're learning about their behaviors. And one of the things, because I read about the elephants too, one of the like signals that were new for the elephants was to alert the other elephants of bees, which I thought was really funny and cute.
That is funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, so they are doing a lot. And I read that because of all of their hard work behind the scenes and their like love and dedication that they're putting into these animals and into conservation, they've earned an accreditation by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And apparently that accreditation is like the gold standard of animal care. Like if you get that, you're really doing something right. And so it's a really big deal. And like all of the animal keepers and veterinarians and everyone were really excited whenever they earned that.
Yeah, I can imagine. It just goes beyond, and we've been talking about zoos and stuff before, zoos and other aquariums where you just go to look at animals. But really, in all honesty, it seems like Disney's just doing it above and beyond everyone else. And they're focused not on just having animals there on property. They're focused on conservation and helping do research and figure out how they can repopulate species that are lower in numbers than they should be. So there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes for sure that most people don't necessarily realize. And I think that is something that is great that Disney's doing. And I mean, their time and effort and money that are spent on the care for these animals is more than most people would realize.
Yeah, I think so too. And you get a little glimpse of that in the show on Disney Plus. And then the more you research, I mean, you can just research this stuff for days because there's so much.
Yeah, most definitely. We're not going to be able to cover everything on this episode.
But something I did want to talk about is like we've talked about how they're working towards like conservation and all of that, but they're also doing a really good job at educating people, like not just entertaining them, but also educating them. And one of the places that like I think is really cool and underrated is Rafiki's Planet Watch. They have the conservation station. So you take a little train, which I think is fun. Like most kids love trains. Adults love to go on trains. Like take the train ride out there. And you'll notice that like a lot of people don't know about it. Or if they do know about it, they don't go out there because they think there isn't anything out there. But it's really cool. And they have a veterinary treatment room out there. So you can watch actual procedures like live while they're happening. There's a window that you can see in. And I've seen like every time I've gone there, I've seen some like really cool operation or just like a regular animal checkup being done. So that's really fun to watch. And they'll explain to you what they're doing and why they're doing it. And they also have just different like educational things out there, and they have reptiles, and I think that's where the petting zoo is too, if I'm remembering correctly.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so you can actually be hands-on with like goats, and I mean it's nothing crazy, they're farm animals, but it's still really cool to actually get to pet them and learn about them while you're petting them, because the cast members there are really like informative about those things.
Right.
You mean you can't pet a tiger? Come on.
Unfortunately not.
No.
You can see tigers, but you can't pet them.
Yes. So the train is actually called the Wildlife Express train, and it is a 7-minute ride, and it's 1.2 mile journey.
I think it's worth it.
I didn't realize it was that far. So that's very interesting. I thought there was a walkway to go back there too, but maybe not.
That would be a long walk.
I know.
It would be.
That's why I'm like, maybe there's not.
I don't know.
Was.
I've always taken the train, so I'm not sure.
So on top of the veterinarian facilities that they have, they do also have housing facilities for the animals as well.
Okay. I thought you were going to say for people.
No, not for people, but for the animals.
I'd like to rent one of those houses, please.
That would be very expensive.
It would.
One thing that we haven't really talked about just yet is there are a bunch of different enclosures spread out through Animal Kingdom. So you can see different animals, different monkeys, and things like that. And those are just kind of out in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also have 2 different trails that I think are really cool. And if you have the time to like just take a little stroll and see them, I think it's worth it. They have the Maharaja Jungle Trek, and that's where you can see the tigers. And then they also have the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail, and you can obviously see gorillas there. I love the gorillas too. They're so like, just, they have such cool personalities, and they're like
playful.
people. Yes.
Yeah.
They're very human like.
And also, they have otters too. They're not on a trail or anything. They're out.
They do
kinda in
have
the
otters.
open.
I love
So
otters.
I do too. Watching them play is always a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Animal Kingdom is a very underrated park because, yes, there's not a ton of rides there compared to the other parks, but there is a ton to do if you look for it. If you go a little off the beaten path, you'll find stuff to keep you occupied and to educate you too. So it's good for your children.
Yeah,
Right.
most definitely. So one of the cool things that we didn't talk about on the safari is that the animals have been conditioned for different sounds that are specific to just them to call them in to go in at night.
Oh, that's cool.
So like what I've seen online is that the zebras are called in by cowbells and giraffes are called in by a whistle.
That's cool.
That'd be really cool to be there to see them all like running in to be put up for a night.
Yeah.
I know. I wonder if that tour that you can do, the one where you get to have dinner on the savannah, I wonder if that is taking place when they're calling the animals in, because that would be a really cool feature of that tour, you know?
Yeah,
maybe
definitely.
so. I've never been on that tour, so I couldn't
And I
tell
think there
you.
are a couple of different ones actually, but yeah, I think that would be really neat.
Yeah, I think there's like an early morning one too that's like a kind of like a hike or something. Like I don't know. I don't know what it is, but there's a couple different tours at Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, there are. Something else I think that is really cool on the Kilimanjaro safaris that we didn't mention earlier is how close the animals can actually get to you in the truck.
Oh,
So I've seen people say that the giraffes have walked up so close to them that you could almost touch them, which would be fantastic because I love giraffes. I've also seen videos of rhinos like fighting right in front of the truck, and you're like, oh God, please don't run into the truck. I just think that's really cool. Not too long ago, people witnessed a zebra being born. So, I mean, there's so many cool experiences that you can have on the safari.
Yeah, and they always say it's like if you go on the safari, you could potentially end up being stuck there for like an hour because they don't pressure the animals to move out of the way or do anything at all. It's all up to the animals. If they want to sit down right in front of the vehicle and stay there and you can't go around, then that's what they're going to do. And they're not going to honk at them. They're not going to pressure them to move. And I think that that's cool because you try to not disrupt them as much as possible. Like let them live
Right.
their lives.
Yeah.
So
You
I
could
like
get
that.
stuck there all day. You never know.
Yeah, you really could. So that's why I guess the line could take a lot longer than anticipating if
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
some of the trucks get stuck.
Because, I mean, they're animals. You can't control them. So,
Yeah, and I think there are some places that you can go an alternate route, but like when the rhinos started fighting, I don't know that there's another way that they could have gone to get around them. I think that's if it stopped, it stopped.
Yeah.
right. So I guess talking since we're still on the topic of the safari, there are a couple other things. One is that in one of the elephant enclosures, they talk about how the Imagineers designed a new tree that had lights on it, so that whenever it got a little bit darker, you could still see the animals, but it wasn't, a bright light. Like they designed the angle so it wasn't shining in the elephant's eyes, and as minimal of light as they could so it wasn't disturbing the animals. And it's like just the ideas that they came up with for as little impact as possible to the animals. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and it wasn't a real tree, but it looked like a real tree.
Yeah, most definitely.
So,
Right.
yeah, they just want everything to be natural.
And there's actually certain plants that grow within the park that was selected by an elephant that lived in Nepal. One of Disney's landscape architects rode an elephant and collected seeds, and whichever plants that she picked up, she would give to the landscape architect, and that's how they selected some of these plants.
That's funny.
That is funny.
One thing that we haven't talked about is the birds that you can find. I know that we talked about ducks, we talked about some cranes and some pigeons and stuff, and yes, those are in the parks for sure, but the birds that I'm talking about are more of the larger birds and birds that are more in enclosures and not free to leave the parks. Some of the park's birds are actually given fake eggs, and this kind of helps with the older birds thinking that they don't need to continue to repopulate, but it also helps with the younger birds so that they can show like where to lay their eggs. Because some birds just they don't care and they'll put their eggs wherever and not necessarily in a nest, but it kind of helps the younger birds understand that, oh, eggs go in here.
That's funny. I do know that they have fake ostrich eggs
They
on
do,
the safari.
yeah. And I
They
mean,
point them out every time.
it also kind of helps with, making sure that the eggs come out okay. And they take them and put them into an incubator and, keep a watchful eye on the eggs. All right, well, while we're talking about birds, there are two more attractions that I'd like to talk about. The first one is Up, a Great Bird Adventure. And this one is not currently available, but I'm sure it will probably come back at some point in time. And this show is actually hosted by Russell and Doug from Up. And it features some of the world's most exotic birds. And this show is typically about 25 minutes long and for all ages.
Yeah, I haven't actually gone to watch this one since they changed it to Up, but I always liked it before. Having the birds come and swoop over your head was really fun.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I think I probably saw something similar, or maybe I'm thinking of another one from somewhere else. I don't know, but how long have they had it in the parks? Like, has it always been there? Something along those lines?
I think this stage has always been there for most of the time that it's been open. I do believe we went and saw this whenever we went on our trip, just you, me, and my oldest child. I think we went and saw the previous, or maybe two iterations ago of Bird Show in this theater.
Okay, maybe so then. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But yeah, I mean, once that comes back, if it does, which I'm sure it probably will, go see that. The last portion of the birds that I want to talk about is the winged encounters, and this is the kingdom takes flight, and this is where the 6 different species of South American macaws actually free fly to the Tree of Life.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. I think that's one of the coolest things.
I know. It really is.
Yeah, the macaws are beautiful birds, and just being able to see them free fly around the Tree of Life is very cool indeed. And there's several encounters per day. So if you don't catch one show, then I'm sure you'll be able to catch it a little bit later on in the day.
Right. And you don't realize how much goes into having to train those birds to be able to do this. Like, it's almost like they have tryouts to be part of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very funny to me.
I know. It's not something you think of. I mean, you don't think, oh, hey, those birds had to try out to be on this team.
Yeah. Because, I mean,
It's just crazy.
they're pretty smart animals. And they're animals. They're going to do their own thing whenever they want to. And if they don't take to the training and fly the certain path that they're wanting them to, I mean, they can't realistically be part of the flight because they don't know if they're going to come back.
Right. And they have to be able to listen to cues and understand what the trainer wants them to do and when they want to do it, because I'm sure there are times when something may happen and something has to go a little differently than what they normally train.
Yeah.
So they have to be able to listen and obey whenever the trainer is telling them, oh, do something different.
Right.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I do love the macaws. They're beautiful animals and definitely worth it to at least watch once per trip.
Right.
Okay, what about the horses in the parks? Did you guys even think about the horses?
No, because I
No.
was thinking, what horses are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, well, they have horses in Magic Kingdom, duh.
They have
For
horses
sure.
for sure. They have horses that pull trolleys. They have carriage horses. Whenever you go through, especially right now, whenever you have the character cavalcades, sometimes they're pulled by a horse-drawn carriage. Not all the
Right.
time, but sometimes.
They also have horses at Fort Wilderness that you can ride.
The horseback riding, for sure. So there are horses that are at the parks.
Yeah, just not something I thought about because I'm thinking Animal Kingdom, and I'm like,
Right.
there's no horses in Animal Kingdom.
No, not an Animal Kingdom, but there are horses. So
There are.
I just wanted to bring them up specifically because, I mean, it's not something, again, that you would typically think of. I mean, you see them. It's not something that you completely ignore. It's not like they're invisible or anything, but it's just not something you typically think of. Almost like the cats. You know, it's not something you would really think of.
Yeah.
I think the final thing that I have to talk about is the aquarium at Epcot. And obviously you can find a bunch of different aquatic animals there. Stingrays and fish and starfish and sharks, manatees.
Manatees.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those
we
are
talked
my
about that.
favorite. Yeah. And the sea turtles. The manatees and the sea turtles are my favorite.
Yeah, I
They have
absolutely love
sharks?
the sea turtles.
Yeah, and of course, along with them comes their own specialized team of veterinarians and marine biologists and everything that take care of them every day.
Right, of course.
Right.
It's pretty crazy. How many people it takes to take care of all the animals at Disney
Yeah.
World.
Yep. A lot.
Most definitely. And really, I mean, I feel like I wanted to do this episode because the animals at the parks aren't something that I hear a lot of people talking about specifically, and the appreciation that goes into the staff that it requires to take care of all the animals. So, you know, it's something that I wanted to bring up specifically on one of our episodes because it's something that I really love that Disney does and the conservation efforts that they're going through. And, you know, not only just trying to repopulate species, but also learn about a lot of these different species.
Right. Now, I know we're talking about what animals Disney has at the parks, but I think Animal Kingdom could really use another country, and should put in an Australia area, or maybe a southern Australia, New Zealand area. There are a lot of animals there that they could bring in, and I think they could do something really cool there.
Okay, so they already have some crocodiles,
Okay.
and I mean, crocodiles are in Australia.
Kangaroos,
Kangaroos would be
wallabies,
fun. Wallabies would be fun.
koala
Most of the
bears,
animals in Australia
kiwis.
want to hurt you, though. So
That's
But I
just the
think,
snakes and spiders.
yeah.
We can leave those out. No,
And the
I like the
crocodiles.
snakes, but yeah, yeah. Just bring the cute animals.
Yeah. There is a lot there that they could bring over, though.
there are, for
That
sure.
would be cool to have another area. I mean, lions want to hurt you too, and they brought those in.
That's true.
Just saying.
I mean,
don't
I
know.
think it would be very interesting to add to Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. I don't know if they have room to do it,
Probably not.
but I think it would be a cool addition if they could.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, and like we said, I mean, there's so much information on the animals and the staff that's required to keep the animals, and I mean, we could probably make another whole episode and discuss stuff that we didn't even talk about here today. But I think that's gonna do it for this episode. I think we kind of talked about a lot of the information on the topic, so. Definitely do some more research and find out about some of the animals that are there, and definitely some of the staff that's there and what it might take if you're interested or have some kids that are interested in becoming a marine biologist or a veterinarian who specifically works with larger species. Definitely do some research and check out what Disney has to offer. But for now, let's go ahead and get into some mousekeeping. So we're going to promote our YouTube. You can find it at bit.ly/T3M YouTube, and that's all lowercase. On there, you're going to find the live streams that we do on every other Thursday. And yeah, it's a fun time. So if you actually get a chance, chime in on one of our live streams. We'd love to have you there. If you love the show, let us know. Leaving us a 5-star written review is the best way to let us know how we're doing. You can also just share with people. Word of mouth is a very good way for us to be able to get new listeners, and hopefully it just helps the podcast grow along with the YouTube channel.
I'd love to plan your next magical getaway. Whether you're looking for a Disney vacation, Universal vacation, all-inclusive resort, international destination, or a cruise, I'm here to help. Contact me when you're ready for your free no obligation quote. And don't forget that my services are complimentary. You can find me on Facebook at Amanda.hollis, Capture the Magic Vacations, and you can find all of my contact information in the show notes.
I wanted to make a little announcement that we're going to be taking a short break. It is summer and we're busy with travels and various other things. So we're going to be back soon. Don't worry. But if you want to know when our next episode or live show will be, you can follow us on social media at T3M Podcast. Again, that's T3M Podcast.
Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. You can also be a part of the magic by following us on all social media platforms at T3M Podcast. Again, that's T3M Podcast. Leave us a 5-star written review and we'll read it on an upcoming episode. If you have an announcement that you would like to have on the show or just want to reach out to us, you can send us an email at T3Mpodcast@gmail.com.
Have a zippity-doo-dah day.
See you real soon.